I'm at it again. Every year around this time, I'm trying to figure out a new animation style. Hello, my name is Brad, Review Tech for Creative Professionals. Today, I am talking a little bit about animation. Many of you know already, I have two channels. There's this channel, which I post to regularly with tech reviews and that kind of fun stuff. And I have a second channel that I started about 2 years ago, which is all about learning how to draw. And those videos are a lot more in depth. They're fully animated and they're just kind of a fun, kind of cartoony way to learn about the basics of drawing and illustration. However, since they are animated, they take a long time to produce. And as many of you also know, sometimes I go months without posting to that channel. In fact, I don't think I've posted anything to that channel since late last year. Animation just takes so long, and I've always been trying to find my style. That channel has always been more of a hobby, as a place to experiment, than, say, this channel, which is really my job. And so here I am at it again. I'm working on a new animation style, and I wanted to walk through my thought process and show you guys step by step what I'm doing to create it. Before I really do a deep dive into that, I do want to shout out the sponsor of today's video, which is Best Buy. Hey Brad, what was that laptop you were showing your animations on earlier? This is the Lenovo YogaBook 9i. I've never seen anything like this. Two beautiful OLED displays with a ton of versatility. You can set this up as a standard laptop and use the second screen with a quick 8-finger tap to bring up a digital keyboard and trackpad. Or if you're looking for something a little more traditional, you could just snap on the Bluetooth keyboard that it comes with, and the rest of the screen transitions into a trackpad. You want to dual screen it? Use the included stand. Everywhere you go, you now have two screens to work with. This even works in portrait mode. What about a tablet? They've got you covered. Just fold it all the way back and you're good to go. The Lenovo YogaBook makes it easier to be productive with applications like Clipchamp and Microsoft Edge, and modern performance with an Intel Evo processor. This is great for creating, entertainment, or productivity. This is available right now at Best Buy. Check out my link down below in the description to learn more. So to start off with, I'm going to point out what I've done up to this point. The very first videos I was doing, I was really proud of and really excited about. However, they were incredibly time consuming because I was spending a lot of time on the backgrounds and a lot of time on the characters. The animation was simple and choppy and was designed with just a handful of pre-built poses for the most part. Occasionally I go into a new video and I create some new poses and I go in there and animate. But most of the time was spent just creating a lot of the imagery that was used in the background or that was used as props throughout the video. In that first iteration of those videos, the character wasn't lip syncing because lip syncing takes a lot of time, but there are some tools out there in programs like Adobe Animate and Adobe Character Creator that will allow you to kind of auto lip sync. And so that's what I started with Phase 2 last year and I experimented with on several videos, some of them here on this channel, some on the other channel. And Character Animator is a really cool program. But when I jumped in and started using it more and more, I ran into some problems. First of all, the size of videos that I was making took up a ton of RAM. As I was exporting those files, they were After Effects files, and my computer was running out of RAM, and it was hitting the top end of what it could do in a 10-minute video. I'm not sure why, I just think the way Premiere was working with After Effects was just really using up a lot of resources. But what has prompted this change was really the lip syncing, which at first I thought was pretty good, but the more time I spent editing those videos, you know, a 10-minute video where you see a character lip syncing and, you know, out of those 10 minutes, 4 of them are out of sync and you have to go in and edit the lip syncing, you're like, you know what? This isn't working well enough. It works pretty well for short videos, but not for a long form video. And so that's why I've settled on this new style that I'm working with. And I knew I wanted something very simple, incredibly simple. I want to not just create long form videos, but I also want to create some shorts in this style as well. In fact, I posted one to my channel just the other day. Actually, so you don't have to go and look for it. Let's just play it here. It says here you have no experience running a startup. Right, yeah, I'm an idea man. Oh, I like ideas. Let's hear one. I want to make a little robot. Okay, I like this. That can go into grocery stores, Brad, and take one slice of bread out of every loaf. Every loaf? And then makes its own loaves from those slices and resells them back to the store for pennies on the dollar. Nobody's gonna notice one missing slice of bread. We don't have to set up a bakery, pay employees, buy ingredients, or even come up with a recipe that tastes good. And the best part is we can sell that bread for 25 cents a loaf instead of a crazy $2 a loaf that greedy bread companies charge. This is gonna democratize bread ownership. I like this. He's got something here. This is really gonna disrupt big bread. So first I want to talk about inspiration. Some of the YouTubers who inspired me were YouTubers like Noodle and Ice Cream Sandwich. Now Noodle's animations are actually pretty sophisticated, but in some of his videos, he's doing some really simple things where he just has different characters that he draws out on paper and sticks on a popsicle stick. And when he wants to change that character's mood or what they're talking about, he'll actually physically move like puppets these little popsicle stick characters in and out of the frame. Ice Cream Sandwich is kind of doing the same thing, but completely digitally, where when that character emotes something new or gets to a point or that they want to emphasize, they're just changing the character a little bit. And there's a lot of Instagram creators, TikTok creators that are doing something similar that I really enjoyed, and I thought, this is funny, this is short, this is simple and easy. At least it looks simple, but it can be deceptive. So one thing I didn't want to do, which is what I've done the last 2 times, so where I create a bunch of assets and I create a giant project that I have to work on for weeks to figure out how to work all of these animation nuances out, how I'm going to do this new style and process. So that video that I showed a minute ago was a really short project that I could knock out in 2 days and then iterate on. So I created the characters in Procreate. Really, I could have used any painting program. That's just what I'm familiar with. And even though some of the styles that I was looking at are these like black and white styles with just, white background, maybe a little black and white art or line art there, maybe 1 or 2 spot colors here and there, I wanted to do something similar but more dynamic, more unique. I wanted something where if you saw a still frame from that, you would immediately identify it as my artwork, my style, my video. So I took inspiration from video games, old Nintendo video games where you had 3 colors to make a character work. So I started by taking my avatar, which initially I was just going to straight up use my avatar, but then I started to simplify it so that I could get some of the facial reactions just a little bit more over the top and do some different things with it. And this is the character that I settled on. Now, when I say 3 colors, I'm also including the background color here as well. White is definitely a color. So the character themselves are 2 colors and the background is 1 color. If I need to add another color, a 4th color, I can do that as well. Now, as you can see here, the character itself has a perfectly circle head, some identifiable hair, some little details here and there to kind of mark them as a unique character. The body, and specifically the arms and the legs, are just sticks because it's really easy to animate sticks. I also wanted big eyes. Big eyes can be expressive. I could do a lot of different things with them, and I could add a lot of variety into my animation if I'm using big eyes. I also really wanted to use my yellow color that I use in a lot of my thumbnails and my avatars and things like that on my channel. It just didn't quite work, at least some of the early ways that I was trying out. I need a little bit more contrast in that core background color. That needs to be darker than that base yellow was letting me get. The other thing that I like about this is I can try out different color combinations. Each video can have different colors. If I get bored with one thing or if I want to show something else, I can do that here. So my first step was to create this video, and that was pretty easy. I drew the character in Procreate, I pulled it on over to Illustrator, just did a quick trace of it, then put it in Adobe Animate, made a bunch of different layers, and then changed things like the eyes, changed things like the arms. I just went through the timeline, added keyframes, moved the arms here and there, added the mouth in, changed the eyebrows. And as I was watching the animation back, there were times where the character felt too stiff. So that was something that I wanted to change up, find a better process for. Just moving the arms around isn't enough to get the character to feel like they're really emoting. I think that the head has to go down, the shoulders have to hunch. There has to be some body language above and beyond just arms flailing. I felt the same way about eyes. There were some places in that original animation where I would make the eyes blink, or I'd have some eyelids come down. But that was another area where I thought, okay, I think I can really push this character into another level or get a lot more variety in there to play with if I created some variation with the eyes. So that's the part I started working on next. I went into Adobe Illustrator and took my base character and started duplicating it over and over and over and over again. But before I did that, I made sure that the colors that I was using on my character were set as global colors. Now, if you're not familiar with this idea, what it is in Illustrator, you can create a color swatch. And anything that's colored with that color swatch, if you change that color, it changes all of them. So once these characters are done in this color, what I can do is I can save this file as something different, choose a new color palette. I change those colors in 3 places in my color palette, and it changes everything. I don't have to go in and manually change the color of every piece of hair, of every body, of every arm and leg. It's just done with 3 easy steps. So then my next step is to take that character, export each and every one of those characters out of Adobe Illustrator and pull them into Adobe Animate, which is what I'm using to animate it. Now, Adobe Animate has this really cool feature called Frame Picker. I've used this before for lip syncing. It works pretty well for that, even though it's kind of painstaking to kind of scrub through the timeline and do those lip syncing, choose like what noise do you hear? Okay, use this mouth with that noise. But here I'm not doing it on every frame. I'm doing it on like every 10 frames, every 5 frames. So it saves a lot of time. But I have a huge library now of Brad characters that I can pick from. So as I'm going through, I can just stop on that frame. I open up my frame picker. I choose the character I want on that frame. I can move down to where my next word is, change the character again, to where that emotion changes again, change that character again. Just by clicking on that frame picker, it's adding a keyframe, it's changing the character, and this really speeds up the process. So yeah, that's where it stands now. I'm pretty happy with where things are going. When am I gonna produce a video for the next channel? I have one in production right now. When's it gonna be ready? I don't know exactly, probably later this summer, but I did want to share my workload. Record audio, stick it in Premiere Pro, cut it all up, take that audio file, put it in Adobe Animate, take those images from Illustrator, and then make those keyframes as I go. So I am using a lot of different programs to get this done. This isn't something that I can just do in a single iPad app, even though there are some great iPad apps out there. I just find that Adobe Animate has some of those features like that keyframe picker and things like that. Just being able to have the audio from your Premiere, which is on the desktop, pulled over. A lot of that is just streamlined on the desktop, even though it would be super cool to do this on the iPad. Maybe that's a challenge for another day once I get some videos out there. We'll see. But what do you think? If you're an animator, a lot of the advice that I've gotten as I've been learning a lot of this stuff has come from the comments. Let me know down below if you have advice on how I can improve things, tweak things, change some stuff around and make it better. Let me know. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.